Hello everyone, this is Splendor Gappy. In this video, I'm going to talk about topology and how it affects the randomized result of the random flow add-on. And also we're going to tackle the different hotkeys you can use in the redo panel to make it easier to modify the values there. And also the different inherent commands in Blender to make it easier to select the faces and also the objects. Once you have randomized object layers, makes it easier to select those underneath to use for randomization. So we're just going to use an ordinary square, ordinary cube, or a simple cube for this demonstration. Okay, so some of the elements in this video you might find might be different in your version of random flow. This is because I've modified it and I've yet to release this a new version. Like this loop inset thickness, this is new and will be in the next updated version. And also grid project and quad slice no longer have the remove doubles, and quad slice also operates differently. So I'll do another video for this for randomizing, I mean quantifying stuff after or faces after you've randomized them to in order to randomize them again. Okay, so let's just mirror this. Click on the axis or the side of the face you want to mirror, the side of the object you want to mirror. I mean, okay, X, Y, and Z. So you can press oh you can press X, Y, and Z to toggle on the axes. So X, Y, and Z is RGB. So X is red, Y is green, and Z is blue. Okay. So press space to confirm, and this is our real geometry here. Excuse me. Okay. So we just do this, evenly spaced faces. So these are all evenly spaced faces. These are all square faces. And let's see how the um, extrusion. So I'm going to use default. So also one other thing that you've noticed is that when you're using the random loop extrude, you might get a different result than mine because the default algorithm that it's using is the original only being toggled off. So if I toggle this off, bring use angle because wraparound works best with original only. Okay, and ignore border faces. So this is the default layer 1 or loop 1 is sourced from the cube or the base mesh, and loop 2 is sourced from the loop 1 result, and loop 3 is sourced from the loop 2 result. Even if I toggle off loop 2, it will still um, create loop 2 object, but then delete it in the process. You can see this is the loop 3 object, and it's actually floating above what should be or where loop 2 object should be. Okay, so loop 1 is from the base mesh, loop 2 object is from loop 1 object, loop 3 is from loop 2, and so on. Okay, but if I use original only, all of the loop objects are being sourced from the base mesh, and they are not being sourced from one another. For example, loop 2 object is being sourced from the, now I can use wraparound because this is more for the original only toggle, and loop 1 object and loop 3 object. They are all sourced from the base mesh. So this is what I use mostly in my videos and in my renders. And sometimes I use the original algorithm to create a variation in the, or to create more interesting shapes. Okay, so wrap around. So this is just the square topology. We mirror this X, Y, and create that. So the only problem with using original only is that they are being sourced from the base mesh or the base object, and if they have the same loop inset depth, this is max inset depth and the minimum inset depth, they both have the same value. You can see that they're overlapping. You can use the um, seed value or edit this or modify this. So by the way, the hotkey that I'm using to modify this is control, hover over a parameter, control and middle mouse button, roll up or down. So roll up to increase the value and roll down to decrease it. Because at some, if you're dealing with a higher topology, you might get a, things might be slow, and using the slide method is not ideal because the process is already too slow, and every value change that you create, Blender will of course process that, and it will take a relatively slow amount of long time to process all of that. So you can use control middle mouse button, roll up or down. You can see the increment there, 0.021, 0.031. So if you're not seeing three this three this what you call this, three zeros here, then you have to go to preferences and decrease the resolution scale until you see this become 0.00 and 0 instead of just 0.00. If you, because the increment starts at 0.001, using the control mouse middle mouse button roll up and down method, you can see the value change unless it goes to 0.01. Okay, so adjust the, you're not seeing the 0.00 and 0 parameter. You can decrease the resolution scale till you get it. Okay, so, and also you can use Control C and V. So for example, if I manage to get it like that and I want to revert it back to this default here, so hover over a value, Control C and Control V to paste. Control C, Control C, Control V. Suggest this 0.005. So I'm using the middle mouse, control middle mouse button. So the hotkey for The random flow add-on is Shift Q. Okay. So one more thing, if I'm using original only, and the resolution for the loop subdivision is high, like this, and our base cuts is also very high. If I turn this off, this will of course freeze Blender because the original algorithm is with a loop objects basing off from the previous loop object. So base cut is already 5 subdivision, and loop one object is um, 2 subdivision. So basically, our base mesh, which is subdivided by 5, has been subdivided again by 2, and then loop 2 object, which is going to be based from the loop 1 object, will be based from this subdivision, and then those subdivision will be multiplied by 2 again. So you can see that it's going to probably crash. So remember that if you switch back or turn this off, you must lower the subdivision. So control middle mouse, roll down, and then toggle this off. So there's no problem turning it on because this is having the original only toggle on is much lighter. Okay. So they both produce different shapes, as you can see, but the wraparound mostly works with the original only. And that's for the corner corner edges. It's original only. You can see it being cut here, and if I use wraparound, you can see that it's wrapping around the sharp corners. Okay. So this is our okay. So actually producing a relatively good result. So versus if we change the topology a bit and create a different by creating loop cuts and creating different size faces for the you can see that it's already showing some variation in the result, and that is what I'm doing, exactly what I'm doing with the videos. So if you have, for example, just this basic plane, of course you're going to have a very squarish result, mostly a square. But if you introduce topology, you can see that the results are much better. Again, I'm using the control middle mouse button instead of sliding method. With the sliding method, you can press Control R. It will snap to certain values, but I'd rather just use the control middle mouse button. If things become too slow, you can then use You can then manually just enter the value. So 0.001, enter. And okay, so let's try and create a actual model. Let's say this is a sci-fi crate. Let's just modify this. Okay, create an edge loop there. So instead of just doing this, okay, let's do this like, let's do it like this. Okay. Now, this is my base topology from my original object. So I want to create a variation in the topology without actually disturbing this topology of the original object. So if I put loop cuts here, and here, here, and then create the randomization, I will have to clean it afterwards because I want to maintain the topology of my original object. But you can use the extract faces here. So you can see the commands here, shift LMB, select plus. Make sure to extend beyond or just in the symmetry line. This is our symmetry line here, right here. Okay, space, confirm, and then going to mirror this, Y and Z, and then I can change the topology. Create a variation in the topology. Okay, and there. So it will keep the object you use for randomization selected after the operation. So you can just either keep the proxy mesh you created using the extract faces or delete it afterwards. So our original object maintains its original topology, and we've used its shape to create this randomized result by changing its topology by creating a proxy mesh. There's also another method you can use, and this is using mesh data. Save the original mesh data. This will also be maintained if you save Blender and close it and then open it again. So I'm going to change the topology, but just to be safe, you can use the extract method if you're not uh, if you don't fully trust this method. You can just use the extraction face extraction method. Okay, so going back to cube, mesh data, use, found one matching geometry. Okay, so this is our original topology. So what it does is find the closest matching geometry and list it. So the closest matching geometry will be listed in first here, and the more result that you have. So basically, if this has 5 results, the fifth one will be the list matching topology compared to the uh, object that you're trying to change. So mesh data, clear saved. So that's the method. And so we've gone with changing the topology and also, oh, so the extraction, you can also use extraction for this, but with the mesh data, you can also use this. Oops, you have to save it first. Save and then change the topology. There. And look at this. Use, boom. It's back to the original. That mesh data is being saved as a temporary data that has a user in it. So basically, if it has a user, it won't be deleted if you close Blender. As long as you save Blender, you should save first before closing Blender, and if you open it up, the mesh data that you've saved will be preserved. So there's two methods of changing the topology to change the result of the randomization, and that's by extraction or by saving using the mesh data. Okay, so extract faces has many uses. You can also use it to create another topology using your mesh, another base or another object on top of using another object as a source, like that. This is derived from iTools Git Polymesh. Okay, but this version is of course much simpler. Okay, so let's go to managing the objects. So for example, this is my base object for design. Okay, random loop extrude. So I'm using Control C and then Control V to paste. And getting rid of the overlap by changing the seed of the inset. Um, if you've okay, if you finish with the redo panel, and the redo panel will stay as long as you don't use any other command that has an undo or redo panel. So for example, if I select this, the redo panel still stays. If I move this, since move has its own redo parameters registered, then it has overlapped or removed the redo parameters for the um, random flow. So just in case you see the redo panel is gone and you see overlaps, you can just select the faces. Example here, and Alt S, shrink and fatten, or just move it in the particular axis. Alt Z, you can Alt S and then you can move it out or in towards the mesh. Okay, so managing the objects. Okay, managing the objects. Let's just raise this up. Quad slice. I'll do another video with the quad slice and grid project. Next one. Okay, so for example, you want to use the cube object again, and these things here or these objects here are getting in the way. You can't really select the cube anymore unless you, of course, zoom in and pick this opening here. Then we can select the cube. But there's another way, and that's using the Alt. So there's a bunch of object here, and you can use Alt, left click. I don't know if this is the same as if you're using right click to select. I guess this would be Alt. I mean Alt right click. So if you're using the left click to select, I guess this would be another key. I guess this would be Alt left click. So for me, I'm using right mouse button to select. So Alt hover over the objects that you want to select. Alt right mouse button, and it's going to show you the objects underneath the mouse. You can select cube and then go to edit mode. You can see the topology, and if you go to extrude mode, this is not really particularly uh, good for selecting the faces. So cube and then Shift H to hide everything except the cube object. Then select the faces that you want. So for example, if I want to randomize these faces, I go to object mode, Alt H, and then Alt A to select everything, and then select the cube again. And this is in object mode, and we know that we've already selected the right faces in edit mode. So we can go ahead and randomize. Okay. Shift H, Shift H, Alt H. Okay, so cube. So I want to create an extract of the cube. So extract faces. So this is showing the topology of the cube. But if I select something, I can't see the selected faces, so I have to press X. Make sure to make it to the symmetry line. If you're not sure, just you can go beyond it. I'm using Shift left mouse button for select plus. Shift Alt left mouse button is for selecting loops. And then space. So it's being outlined the selection, auto mirror, X, Y, and Z. So I get the Z. Okay, so we've just managed to extract that. So cube again. So I'm just gonna extract this and then auto mirror X, Y, and Z. I get my real geometry here. So I can go ahead and try and by the way, the base cuts, certain values have what we call soft max. You can go past this value by manually inputting a higher number. So this stops at 7 by using slide or control middle mouse button roll up down. You can input 7 and then it will go higher. So every values in the parameters in the add-on has its own so for example, scatter softmax has its own softmax value. So explode. So softmax is 10. You can input a higher value and then slide. Okay. So how to select the extract? So the the result of the face extracts will always be extract proxy. So you can select that. So the cube RL extract, RL extrusion is random loop extrusion, and this is the result of the extract proxy is the result of the face extract operator. You can delete it after you've used it. So the original use usage of the extract faces, why it was created, is because of using it for the cable system. Since if you use it on objects that are symmetrized by the mirror modifier, then the result of the randomization will also be symmetrized. So you can use the face extract to create a asymmetric um, mesh to create your randomized result. So minimum distance is also for the new update, and that will get rid of this faces here. So limit origin to islands. So for example, if I have this turned off, you can see that some of the cables are being sourced from this singular face here. In order to get rid of this really short cables, you can use the minimum distance to increase it. You still have one, so 0.2, and now we only get the really long cables. So this is going to be useful for cleaning up the result. Okay, so the that's it for this video, and the next video we're going to talk about the I think we have I have more time for the inherent commands in Blender, so I'm going to just tackle it in the next video with the quad slice and grid project, and include this one here, the link flat faces and coplanar, and how to use it for quickly selecting randomized the faces from the randomized result. So for example here, coplanar, increase the value 0.02, codify, going to use 0.001, and also going to show you what the distance is for and why this has made the remove doubles obsolete. And that's also true for grid project. There's also the distance parameter here also, which is not on the old version. Okay, so since the faces have been qualified, select the face again, coplanar, and for example, we're going to use okay, so that's how you do it. So that's after the codification. Okay, it's okay. So if you have any questions, be sure to use the comment section and the links in the description to ask me uh, anything you've noticed about uh, that I've missed in this video. Okay, so thank you for watching and see you in the next one.